Hey, Jessie, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Rachel, I'm getting sick of you. We have talked so much lately.
I know, it's crazy. Cool. Well, most of my listeners don't know you, so why don't you just introduce yourself?
I know, but we cannot stop there because that sounded like I was really sick of you. I'm not. We're laughing. For all of you listening, Rachel and I have spent like 3 days together this week. It's just the way our schedules lined up for going in each other's membership groups and coming on podcasts. So that's not the best way to introduce me, I guess. Good Lord. It's so nice to meet all of you here. This makes me laugh hysterically. This is keeping it real, friends. Yeah, I'm Jessie Bouton. I am a certified life and business growth strategist, which just basically means I am super passionate about helping women live a life more in tune with their dreams by building the business of their dreams with simple, high impact actions, because the majority of the women that follow me are moms. I am the creator and founder of the Millionaire Mompreneur Project.
Okay, so that's like the easy way. Let's dive in. Tell us, how the heck did you get started and what you're doing? And fun fact about you that I didn't know until yesterday. Was that yesterday or the day before? Both of us have no idea what date it is. I'm like, is it October? Are we in like 2013? What's happening? Yesterday or the day before, it could have been. You were saying that you were actually a professional race car driver. So fun fact that I did not know about you. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, actually, it plays into my backstory. So, I just gave you a whole bunch of fun titles and kind of like who I am now and what I do. But the truth is the long story short is I started out 15 years ago as a woman who was only 20 years old and coming off of a childhood of just, caught lots of struggles, lots of defeat, lots of feeling lost. And I had always had a dream to be two things in my life, which were a professional race car driver and a mom.
Where did that dream come from? I'm curious, because that's not like your typical dream that a girl would have. My son does. My son wants to be a professional motorcycle racer. He's 6.
Oh, man.
But where did yours come from?
Well, my stepdad, actually, I lost my dad when I was 11 years old. And then I had an amazing stepfather that came into my life. And he was always a passionate race car lover, had some fun and actually went to tracks and drove as a hobby. But I was like, I'm not spending that kind of money each weekend. I want to go and make money, right? And I watched the people on the TV. And the real reason that I wanted to become a race car driver was not just because of all of the fun behind the wheel, but because of the platform it would give me to be able to change people's lives for the better. Because I really did come from a place of where I was that girl that was, if she was even chosen at all, was chosen last, you know what I mean, for the teams, and, really struggled to stand out. And I was like, that would be so amazing to be able to drive these fast race cars, but then have a platform to teach other people that they can create whatever they want, right? So interestingly enough, I spent about 5 years behind the scenes just going to different racetracks, shaking hands, handing out resumes, hoping that somebody would give me a chance, and was a lot of no's for 5 years. And then I just got the right opportunity, right? And some people are like, wow, how'd you get so lucky? And I'm like, honestly, it wasn't luck. It was because I had myself set up for any and every opportunity by going to all of those events for 5 years and taking 1,000 no's, right? Like at the least, the number had to have been 1,000. And went out and did that for quite a long time. I actually was very much into mindset at that point. Just,
how old were you?
Yeah. I was like in my 20 to 25.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. That was the main years that I was doing it. I did it up until I was 27 when I got married, but loved mindset just because I realized that it was a pretty powerful tool if you knew how to harness it. And so I took my mindset approach that I had learned, actually drove for 5 years, lost only one race out of 650.
Wow.
And I really, truly believe that it was that mindset system that I had used to go out there and, smash all the glass ceilings. I was the only female in my category. I now, 15 years later, still hold the title of the winningest driver in both the male and female category. And yeah, I mean, I'm proud of that, but I say that more because that's what I teach now. I
Yeah.
teach people how to grow successful businesses through simple systems, to better their marriage through simple systems, right? And so on, health, etc. And that's where it started for me. I kind of learned how I could take control of my mind and then actually have something physical, tangible come out the other side of that in the positive fashion that I wanted. So I retired. I had a lot of opportunities to continue on, but I always wanted to be a mom. And being a female, it was kind of like, now or never
Right.
sort of thing. I had watched other women go long into their 40s and never have kids at all and get divorced, because it's a tough world out there in the drag racing world. But retired, got married, had 2 kids, fell into a Great Depression because of a major life and career change. And had built a pretty successful business on the side with my husband, physical therapy business in our hometown, to the likes of 7 figures. We have 15
Pretty
people
successful.
that work for us. Yeah, pretty successful, right? We were hustlers. We were always hard workers. But again, those simple systems that we had instilled, luckily my husband believed in a lot of that stuff too. But I fell into such a depression and I was lost and lonely. And I realized that I was building my husband's dream now and not my own. And I had given up racing, decided I would never go back to that just because safety wise, honestly, I had a lot of close calls over the years. And with kids, you look at things differently.
Oh yeah.
So I ended up getting a life coach to help me get out of my depression because I was really unhappy and wondering why I was even on this earth. And came out of that just 1,000 years better than I ever could have been. Honestly, I was like a way better person even before, or excuse me, now after, even before I ever fell into depression. So I ended up getting certified as a life coach and starting a business. And next thing you know, 6 years later, that's my jam. We still have my brick and mortar physical therapy business, but I just more or less own that, show up for team meetings and take care of all those things on the side. My regular day-to-day is my life and business coaching business.
Okay. So you're not as involved in the brick and mortar now as you were.
No, it's one of the things I really don't ever try to be too pushy on with people, but I really believe if you're going to build something to the caliber that you want, that includes a team, that you have to at some point let go of being the one that does all of the hard work, and you have to step into that role of an owner. And so my husband and I, it was tough at first, right? Because it was our baby, our first baby. We joke, it was our first baby. But we have an amazing staff. We have really crew, a culture, and a team there. So now that's it. I just go in a couple hours a week and everything else is done remotely.
That's pretty amazing. Okay. So you have that, then you have this business that you're running, and then you also have 4 kids and you're 7 months pregnant with baby number 5.
Yep.
Okay, so tell us these systems. Tell us the things that you're doing to make all of this actually happen. Because I see so many moms that have businesses, they're spinning a million plates and everything comes crashing. So how the heck are you making this happen?
Yeah, this is my favorite thing to talk about because I think us as women alone overcomplicate things, right? It's just natural. On top of the fact that we generally don't take care of ourselves first as much as we should.
Yeah.
We know we should, right? We should put that life mask on ourselves first so we can help put others on for them. But we get lost and we forget to do that because there's so many things tugging at us, so many responsibilities. And so the biggest thing that I like to share with people is I remind you, you have to take care of yourself first so that you can take care of others, including your business. And you have to keep it simple. Again, as women who are moms for the majority of us, I know that I am never going to be somebody who can run the marathon. When we're building our businesses, it's very much a long game. You can't expect overnight success. You really have to understand that it takes time and effort and that momentum to be built up. But that doesn't mean that you have to work 60 hours, right? I actually first started my life coaching business and I was killing myself with one-on-one. I was backed into a corner. I couldn't work any more hours. My husband actually said to me, something's got to give, and it's either going to be us or the business. And of course I chose him, but it was really hard because that again was my baby. And that's how I ended up transitioning into business coaching, because people were so interested. Okay, well, how did you build such a successful business? And I'm like, interestingly, I did, but it wasn't serving me, right? And we're all purpose-driven women here who are listening to this podcast. We don't want to just build businesses to make a lot of money. We want to build businesses that serve our soul and the people that we help as well. And so I had to really shift my focus on, okay, what needs to change? And then how can I teach others to take control of that too, right? We, again, overcomplicated. I was like, to be more successful, to make more money, to help more people, I just have to max out my calendar. That wasn't the case. And so then when I started to be able to transition and do things a bit differently, where now I work only 20 hours a week and I own 2 6 and 7 figure businesses with 4 kids, right? People are like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah,
like,
for real. Tell us.
Yeah, tell me more. And so I call it the one thing formula, because the one thing that has only ever worked for me to truly have success is to show up every single moment of every single day, all in on just one thing. So at 100%, right? Because again, we tend to do this thing where we have all the balls in the air. We've got our kids, getting them ready at the same time as we're trying to write a blog post, at the same time as we're listening to a podcast, at the same time as we're writing out our grocery list. Life doesn't work that way. That's why things get missed, right? That's why you forget your kid at school. It is. It's because we are giving 10% to this, 15% to that, 30% to this, and another 8 to 10 here. And then not only do you feel like you're struggling to get through it all, you're actually not having the best results with everything because you aren't giving 100%. So it's called the one thing formula, where you show up and you go all in and be joyfully present in each and everything, which means you don't have your notifications on your phone or your computer. You know, you actually are just all in on that one thing for the allotted time where you pre-schedule. I mean, there's a whole lot more that goes into it, but that's the most important takeaway that anybody could implement right now today without any behind the scenes structure.
Have the one thing. It's so funny. I was literally explaining this to my son today. He goes, Mommy, I'm multitasking. And I was like, actually, that's not very efficient. He was like,
Yep.
what?
And,
okay.
and I was the queen of multitasking for years, and I actually rocked the crap out of it, right? But I realized too that just because I was getting, things done, again, I could have done them so much better. I mean, I'm in the best shape of my life, right? It's a silly example, but I'm in the best shape of my life now, and even 7 months pregnant. And everybody is like, they've heard my story. I say how I couldn't lose 20 pounds for a year, and then I lost it in 6 weeks. And they're like, what? The one thing formula.
Yeah. What did, tell us that.
The one thing formula. I just showed up, right? I actually showed up for my workouts 3 to 5 days a week. I actually went all in and paid attention to my food and what I was eating, but yet still not restricting myself. I mean, I totally would eat a sleeve of Oreos every 2 weeks, but I didn't feel guilty about it because I was not eating the waffles and the sausage for breakfast, the snacks at my office, right? And my physical therapy clinic. All these old people are amazing and then bring us in treats. And I would just nibble on them all day, right? And I was like, when I'm eating, I'm eating. That's it. It sounds so silly and so simple, but it's like the one thing formula. When I eat a meal, I eat a meal. I don't again until it's time to sit down and eat a meal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially now we're in such distracted societies, and it's like, how often do you pick up this phone? You do that like 500 million times in a day, and you're doing it while you're eating. You're doing it like while you're trying to get work done, and you're scatterbrained all over the place. And I love what you're saying, because it's like, dude, just stay focused on that one thing that you need to get done, and then you'll have time for something else.
Yeah. And that was such a great example, Rachel, because that's what people ask me a lot about, how are you able to keep up with everything? And I'm like, one of the ways, for example, with like electronics that I'm able to keep up with everything with my phone is I actually generally don't even have it in my office. I'm picking it up and holding it and showing Rachel right now because we're on video, but I generally don't even have it in my office, except for I'm the one that's on call today for my kids. So if somebody were to call, I just have it set up for emergency purposes only, but I don't touch Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or any of that except for the pre-planned times. There's no notifications that pop up on my phone about it at all. When I'm sitting with my kids at the dinner table or the breakfast table, nobody is scrolling. Not my husband, not me. We're not scrolling on our phones. We're just not that kind of family. We could be. I could easily be distracted because I always have an abundance of Instagram DMs, right? And I'm very much the person that if you message me, I will voice you back and we'll chit chat. But I have to set 30 minutes in the morning, 30 at lunch, and 30 at afternoon time. And that's it. Like whatever I can get in that time, that is it. And it really will make a huge difference for you in your business as well. Because when we're starting, we're waiting for every single notification, right? Or when we're struggling, we're waiting for did somebody buy that? Did somebody comment? Who cares? Give
We're
it
just seeking
your
that,
best.
seeking that validation. Like, do they see
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, exactly. Give it your best. Make sure you feel really good about it because that's all that matters. I don't care if anybody doesn't like what I do. And there's actually been plenty of things that I've done over the years that have totally flopped or that I got some bad feedback on. But, I dealt with that when the time was right. And then I moved on. And as long as I still felt good about it, that was what was important.
Okay, so we got the one thing formula. I love this idea, and it's so easy to implement. Like, have this be a key takeaway from this episode and just implement that. You sound super structured. So could you give us an outline of what your average day would look like?
Yeah, I am really structured, but not by nature. I will tell you guys that. Like, I've really had to create this. I have in my office several whiteboards. Actually, just took some down because we're redoing my schedule right now just because of some conflicts. But I actually live by 2 content calendars for my business and actually make sure my family life fits into it as well. But I have the first calendar is one that everything that I need to be doing each week and or putting out each week. So for example, if I have a podcast episode that goes out on this day, or if I have a blog post that goes out on this day, whatever it is. And then the second content calendar is the one for, okay, now when am I going to create all of that? And when is that hockey, right? I have 3 hockey practices a week for 2 of my kids right now. Karate for another kid. I go to the hospital every week right now to have infusions because I'm having a little bit of trouble in my pregnancy and I'm there for 5 hours. And all of these things, it's like, when I think about it, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get anything done this week. Like, it's just too overwhelming. There's no way I'm going to get it done. But when I put it on, in my case, a whiteboard, and then I also transfer it to paper, I can actually see the specific time that I'm able to schedule it out, block it out. And then from there, like a lot of times I used to fly by the seat of my pants and I would let that overflow into the time that I should have been sitting with the kids and reading a book or something like that. And that was something I was not willing to give up, especially the first few times when my son said to me, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom. And I never heard him. He was like, Mom, I said your name 3 times because I was on my phone trying to catch up on stuff. And I was talking with my team actually at that time. And I was like, no, I can't do that anymore. It only happened a few times and it was a real eye opener for me. I was distracted even reading a book one time. That was the other time too. Like I was reading them a book and I like picked up my phone and looked at the notification and I paused and my other kid was like, what did they say, Mom? Why are you not talking? I'm like, oh my God, so sorry.
I mean, you're not the only one though. I remember TJ was like 3 or 4 and he was like, Mommy, you're on your computer all the time. And that was such like a wake up call. And I was like, what can I do to really make sure I'm present? And when I'm working, be working. When he's off of school or when I'm with him, I'm with him. And so, dude, like you're not the only one. This is universal struggle, especially when you're like an entrepreneur and a mom at the same time.
Absolutely, which is why it's so darn important to actually put pen to paper or get on that whiteboard and structure out your time. And then know that it's not going to go perfect, right? Like my day a lot of times ends up getting changed, but because I actually had filled out that time and I try to not have every single minute blocked out, right? So that I do have other areas where I can move things around. It almost always works, but it also almost always works because I'm very much the person who has the mindset of like, if I can't change it, I'm not going to get nervous about it. I actually will legitimately look at myself or put my hands up in the air and say, I can't change this. Let it go. Let it go and make a new decision of how you're going to move forward. Right. But so often we get caught up in the, my dog pooped in my kid's bedroom today. This is real life, guys. I'm sorry you're having to hear this, but it's like, I was trying to get out the door to get to pre-K. I had the baby with me because I didn't have the babysitter this morning. And I'm like, I don't have time to clean that up, but I could not clean it up. And I was like really starting to get frustrated. And my other kid is like, Mama, it's okay. I'm like, can't change it. Can't change it. I put the dogs outside and I left, and I came back in an hour and took care of it. Mom of the year, totally left the dog poop all over the carpet. Embarrassing.
Oh, what can you do?
But what can you do, right? But I could have totally, like the old me, if we're being honest, the old me a long time ago would have flipped out, probably cursed, been fuming, told my kids, get in the car. You know what I mean? Like taking that frustration out on them. And I've really learned to just take control of what I can take control of and let the rest go.
Totally. What are some of the mindset hacks or shifts that you've had that have helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, one thing that I really try to focus on now more than anything, it's like the who versus the how. And I know you're a Tony Robbins fan as well, so you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But the who versus the how, right? Like everybody's like, yeah, but how do you build a business? How do you use this? How do you do that? And I don't usually know the how either. I end up figuring out the how because I say, who do I need to be to actually achieve this, right? Like, who do I need to be when I wanted to lose that 20 pounds in 6 weeks? I needed to be somebody who took it seriously, right? Yeah. Somebody who wasn't playing around anymore and just making it work in the right moment. You know, how do you build $1 million business? I can give you lots of different strategies, but they're not going to work for you unless you are going to show up as that $1 million business owner now first and then implement the strategies, right?
What are those qualities? What are those qualities of that $1 million business owner?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. So this can definitely change for everybody, but I think number one, it's knowing and believing in yourself. It doesn't mean that you won't ever doubt yourself, right? Queen of limiting beliefs over here, queen of them. But again, I take immediate control of them. So the minute where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I to think I could do this, right? That was definitely who I was when I was first starting my coaching business. I struggled hard. I did everything wrong. I spent more money than I made. I enrolled group coaching programs to have one person in it. And I definitely was like, who am I? Like, why would I ever think I could do this? I don't know anything about online. I don't know anything about coaching businesses. Like, that's not me. I'm a race car driver and a brick and mortar business owner, you know? And then I was finally like, how did these other people who I look up to do it? When I researched into them, a lot of them didn't have a formal education.
Oh yeah.
They just really owned what they wanted to do and they did it. And I was like, okay, so I got to have some belief. And then I actually got to do the work. I can't think about it. I was a thinker. I was a talker. And I was like, I got to put my money where my mouth is and I got to take the actions. So it really starts first, I believe, with the belief and the effort. And the only way you're going to show up with that belief and effort every single day is if you make it a daily priority. So I have something I call the 3-step daily rush success system. RUSH is an acronym for Revving Up Self-Happiness. It's a part of the name of my first book, The Rush Revolution. And it's all about intentional living techniques. And if you know anything about intentional living, you know it means that you are super intentional about what you want and how you get it. And so for me, it's making myself show up every day with these 3 things where I plan out my day, I execute my day, and then I evaluate my day. And so at the end of the day, I'll say, okay, did I show up with the belief and effort that I needed to today to build $1 million business in whatever, the next 12 months, the next 2 years, whatever your goal is, right? And if the answer is no, that's okay, right? That's totally fine. It's going to happen sometimes, but I try to be just a little bit stronger every single day. And I apply that to everything. I mean, I had a super long story short of, just being unhappy in my marriage, both of us a few years back, and not really understanding if we were going to be able to get through it. We had no idea. And when we finally took this simple thing, God bless my husband, who was not originally on my personal development bandwagon, but he came around. He trusted me on these things that I was doing that was making a difference in my life because the train was a-leaving without him. And he went all in with this just 3-step daily rush success system for our marriage, right? We apply this to almost everything that is important to us. And now, listen, we are still, I can fight like cats and dogs with him because that I think is part of a good marriage too.
Yeah.
but we've never been happier, never felt like, the best teammates in the world. No matter what, we know we're getting through, and it's all because we show up for each other every day. Not when it's convenient with 4 kids and 2 businesses after 2 weeks, right? Every single day we make it a priority. And it's not much. They're little tiny things. It might be a simple text message like, hey baby, how are you? Can I do anything for you today? Which, interestingly enough, my husband can be a little bit silly. And I think his last text message reply to that was like, yeah, I don't know if I can say it. Your audience might not be okay with this answer.
You can say it. If you got kids, put on the earmuffs.
It's not a bad word, but he said, take your clothes off. And just a text message, right? But that's how you keep a good marriage. It was just totally cute, totally funny. We both were just hysterically laughing in different places. He came home last night and he walked in. He's like, you like my message? And I was like, it was great, honey. It was great. And it's those little things, right, that you do every single day that help you show up as who you need to be to achieve that goal that you want. It's not the marathon. I'm never running the marathon. I don't want to talk for an hour every day. We're going to do it in a minute here, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. See you tomorrow,
Yeah. So you started with personal development on that journey before he did. How did you get him involved? Because I see this happen a lot. This happened in my own marriage where, like, when we met, neither of us were entrepreneurs, right? Like, I was planning on going to grad school. And so there was a lot of like things that evolved, and he ended up just like following my journey. So after like 7 years of watching me grow, he started doing it too. It was kind of like leading by example. So I'm curious how that kind of worked for you guys.
We have the exact same story, except it had gotten so bad to the point where he was really kind of against me doing it.
Yeah.
Because I think he just felt like I was turning into a whole other person, which he viewed as a great person, but not somebody who was on the same page as him. So we were still butting heads a lot.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he was like, we don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. And I stopped asking him, right? At first I kind of asked him, I would, ask him to do this with me. I would show him this, give him this book, invite him to an event, right? I was going to conferences, things like that. And it was no, 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 no. That's ridiculous. You're crazy. And finally, I just stopped asking and was just doing. I hadn't been a TV watcher anymore. I definitely would always be the person that was getting up he always really appreciated like fitness. But instead of going to the gym anymore, I was just working out in my basement because it's what worked for me with our kids. And I was doing all of these things, and he was kind of like, one day, the way he said it to me was, because we had a serious conversation, and the way I posed it to him is, I'm like, I can't hold you on my back anymore, right? At this point, that's what it feels like. I can't hold you on my back anymore. I can't do it. I'm tired. And he said to me, nothing. And then the next day, nothing. I thought, oh my God, we're getting divorced. Like, I really thought that's what was happening. And the next day he said to me, I realized that the train is leaving the station and I don't want to do it without you. So I'm getting on board. And he went to a Tony Robbins conference with me.
No way.
Yep. He's like, I want to go to Unleash the Power Within with you, because he knew I was going the following month. And we never talked about it again. I literally booked the tickets and the hotel. And the very night before we left, he said, so are we still going to that conference tomorrow? I was like, wasn't sure if you really were going to come. Because nothing changed over that month.
Yeah.
Before, like, from the talk to the event. But he came out of that event an entirely different person who is just, that was 3 years ago, I think now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. But it was all by leading by example, just showing him that this is what I'm doing, like it or not. And it was because what, guys? I was serving myself first. I put my life mask on because I couldn't continue to function the way I was when I was living like him anymore. And at a time, that life was okay, but it wasn't anymore. And I think once you have kids, things change dramatically, right?
Totally.
And that was really huge for me to see my oldest, who, 4 years old, already had self-esteem issues. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So, yeah.
Amazing. What's the best book you've read?
Ooh, okay. So I will tell you, this isn't necessarily the best book I read. I actually just told somebody I didn't really like the whole book itself, but it is the very first book that saved my life, I believe. The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren.
I just read that a few months ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of it, it was a little bit boring to me. But that's just because I'm very high energy. And so it was just kind of, like long and tedious. But that was for me. That was my interpretation of it. And that also was many moons ago. But I will say what I took from that book, and the reason why I want to bring it up is because so very often we think that we have only one purpose in life, right? And that was why I was depressed, because I thought I had been a race car driver. I had become a mom. How could I still be so unhappy and so unfulfilled? I felt ungrateful. I felt ashamed. I felt guilty. And as I was honestly on my basement floor, hysterically crying, like begging God to help me out of this, I accidentally bumped my, it was like a shelf I had with books on it, which by the way, before that I was never a reader. Like I would just read little bits and pieces of what I wanted, and then I would leave the book, but I would never finish a book, right? I would just take up what I could. And I opened this book because it fell on me. It like fell down when I knocked the shelf. I don't even know where the book came from. My husband insists he didn't buy it. I know I didn't. I'm certain that I didn't. So I don't know where this book came from, The Purpose Driven Life, but I opened it up. It was almost as if like God told me to. And that was the very first thing I took from it, was that you aren't meant to have just one purpose in this life. If you're feeling lost and you're feeling lack, then take a look at what else you can create. That's my paraphrasing, right? And that was the first book I read entirely. And this is too hard. I probably could give you, I'm looking at like my bookshelf, I could probably give you like 100 names of books. But another book that I really just loved, and again, it's more because it's super simple. I don't know how I never read this before, being a personal development person, but The Energy Bus. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Then you're making me laugh, because both of us being personal development junkies, how have you not read that book? That's what everybody said to me. They're like, how have you not read The Energy Bus? I'm like, I don't know, but I will. I read it in probably 2 nights sitting in my bed. It's a short book. It's super great. I always get it confused. This is a smart mom. Not really. I'm not smart. Fiction, nonfiction. Which is which? It's nonfiction. So it's actually like a story.
Yeah.
It's a personal development book that's turned into a story. I'm sorry, I had to think about that, guys.
Now I'm like in my head, I'm like, isn't that fiction? But I think we both have pregnant brain, and that's also something.
Yeah, we definitely do that. So yeah, I don't care what it is. It's called The Energy Bus. It is a personal development book that's turned into a story with characters. And it's a great way to use like a simple process type of thing of an approach for a woman, and especially if you're a mom, to just realize how much you are in control of anything and everything, right from your day to day to your future, right? Accepting your past as your past, we all have one, and then leaving that where that is, and then continuing to build and grow. So The Energy Bus is John Gordon, I believe was the author's name. Really great book.
Oh, I just want to go back to the purpose-driven life story though, because that was so cool how it literally just fell on you. And it's so awesome how God just like, he knows exactly what you need at every given moment. And that's like what you needed at that moment.
It is. And it's funny because we've asked everybody since, like my mom, my in-laws, like, did you give us this book? And we don't remember it because we weren't really book readers. Like, did you give us this book? And nobody knows it. There's nothing inscripted on it. The pages look brand new. Like they weren't, there was no like edges frayed or anything. And if I really just give you one more little tidbit, the reason why that was so transformational for me too is I had a really long, bad relationship with God. It started when I lost my dad at a young age and lots of other things that went on. But I believed in God, but I didn't need him for anything. I was almost 30. I felt like I didn't need him for anything. I never once relied on him. And that was the start of me rebuilding a relationship with him. So, you know, that story I feel like is even that much more because I finally was at my low, right? Everybody's low is different, but that was my low. Even though I had a great life, it was still very, very low for me. And that was him saying like, you don't got to do it alone anymore, sister. I don't know why you've ignored me for 30 years, but I'm here and I can help you make it better. So I'm getting emotional even starting to say it to you, but it was a really big deal for me. That's why I have to share that book.
Yeah, no, I love that story. It's so powerful. You gave me chills. Okay. What does it mean to you to make an impact?
Ooh, so you know this, but I host a membership group, a business building membership group called the Women of Impact Network. And the reason that I named it that is because I'm all about making a bigger impact in my life, right? Starting from years ago with that race car driving opportunity because I wanted to impact people's lives. So for me to make an impact, it is all about leaving something of positive value to people, whether it's words or a feeling, but all about the positivity that I believe, you know, we have an opportunity to leave an impact of lots of different kinds. The kind I want to leave is a positive one.
Amazing. Where can we connect with you?
Yeah, I am Jessie Harris Bouton on every single platform. JessieHarrisBouton.com, millionairemompreneur.com. I'm most active over on Instagram. So if you want to chit chat or connect a bit more, you are welcome to shoot me a message over there. I will probably voice you back.
And then your podcast.
Oh, yeah, let's not forget the Millionaire
Don't forget the
Mompreneur
podcast.
Yeah, we would love to have you come over and listen there as well. Actually, Rachel was on with us a couple months ago, so we have a really great episode that we shared over there. I can't remember the number because we're well over 100 now, so it's all a little blurry. But I will tell you that is my favorite place. In case you couldn't tell, guys, I'm a talker. So come join me over on the podcast if you like it, with people keeping it real and just chit chat and real life stories.
Jessie, you are just like so real. I adore you. It's so cool to see what you've accomplished. And I know that there's so much more in store for you. And just thank you for letting us learn from you and be a part of your journey.
Oh my gosh, you are the sweetest. I'm so excited to connect with you and thanks for having me.